Ooh, almost time. So start tabbing back into Twitch, close YouTube, close Hacker News, close Reddit. Okay. Hello. We're back. Welcome back. Yep. Let's start with the second talk. How did you know I was on YouTube? Because that's what I do when I tab out from Twitch streams. um okay. Let's see. Is everything up? Yep. Is my pointer the right pointer? Yes, it's the right pointer. Okay. So, advanced Hello World and how to become an extreme Zig programmer. So, you've written Hello World before, and maybe you are looking into Zig, you want to get a feeling for the language, and you stumble upon a code sample that shows you how to write Hello World, and you feel kind of weird because wait, why is there no print function? Or more precisely, why is there no print built in? Like why no print built in? Okay, in Zig built-in start with a @ symbol. It's fine, not a big deal, but why is there no print? Every freaking language has a print. What's going on? And some people get turned off by this. I've seen a few comment threads on Reddit where people who clearly have an extensive professional experience debating on tabs versus spaces and where the curly brace should go, new line at the end. Like, these are the details that matter. They also tend to be the ones that are also annoyed by the fact that a language doesn't optimize for writing hello world. Now, of course, you could say my argument. I mean, I think I understand their point of view. My counter argument would only be I think there are already enough implementations of hello world out there, some fairly efficient, I would say, and they work for most architectures. So I can see that there is always a need for new, better, improved hello worlds out there. But come on. So why is this not a thing in Zig? Why this is no, doesn't work? This does work. This is yes. But as you can see, we are importing print from std debug. Why are we getting print from a debug namespace to print? That's also maybe interesting for people that come to the language. Well, I think that the answer for this can be found in the fact that Zig markets itself as a way of writing robust, optimal, reusable code, and I think it kinda ties into that. So Hello World, even though it's meant to be a simple application, in the end, it's not really that simple when you start thinking about the details. So now let's use Hello World as an example, as the starting point for thinking about what it means to print to the terminal and some of the details that can be that we have to think about, that we should think about. So what's your use case? Are you trying to print to standard error or to standard output? And I'm assuming people watching these know the difference. If not, long story short, normally programs have two output streams that they can write to. Standard output is meant to be the actual main output of the application. Standard error is just for, as the name implies, communicating errors. And it's nice to have this separation because sometimes this allows programs to pipe output from one program to another, while at the same time printing useful diagnostic information to the user without messing up the output that the other program downstream is supposed to interpret. In Zig, how do you choose where to print stuff? Well, there is in std.io, you can find two nice functions, get stdout, get stdr, and these two functions give you a file struct because these are represented as normal files that are open in the program. And then from there, you can do from the file struct, you can do .writer to get the writer interface that allows you, as the name implies, to use that as a generic way of writing to a stream. And from your writer, then you can do print, which is nice. So this is one question that you should think about. Where do you want to print? Another question could be, what if printing fails? What if I have an application where it's extremely important that the print succeeds? Otherwise, we should report the error somehow, maybe even crash. While other applications, maybe you don't care if the print fails, and actually crashing because of a print failure is undesirable. So these are also other choices that you have to make, and there is no one right choice for it. It depends on your use case. So here, this is another example. Here we are doing the standard out writer, blah, blah, blah. But here we are catching the error. I'm not inspecting the error. If you inspect the error, you can also get more information about what's going on. But here, just to simplify stuff, we catch the error. And in this example, I decided that we want to return a specific error code if our print fails. And as you can see, also, this main function is slightly different than usual. This one is returning a U8, because normally we return either void or error void, like exclamation point void. But if you return U8, this allows you to specify your final status code for your application. So that also, maybe, depending on your use case, can be useful. Or maybe you could have another strategy. Maybe returning error codes, it's not important for you, but you want to react to a print that isn't happening successfully. Another dimension is buffering. Do you want buffering or do you not need buffering? And buffering can be very important for performance. If your application has to read and write a bunch of stuff, you want buffering somewhere. Otherwise, everything will be much slower for basically no good reason. So this is how you add buffering to a writer. So first of all, as usual, you grab the standard out writer, and then you feed your standard out writer to the buffered writer function. This function automatically adds a buffer of 4 kilobytes. But if you look at where this function is defined, right above, there's another generic function that allows you to customize how much buffering you want. The reason why this is there is no parameter here, I think this is just a convenience function, and because 4 kilobytes tends to be okay, I guess, for most use cases. But it's also because the other function will generate a type, because the buffer is embedded in the frame. This, maybe somebody that doesn't know much about Zig might have this question, like, this buffer is not a dynamic buffer that gets allocated. Like, if this were to allocate dynamic memory, it would ask you for an allocator. So this is just buffering inside the type itself, inside the struct itself. So it's in the frame. So after that, you simply, from buffer, you can get, again, the writer interface and use that to write. But then you should consider flush. You also have to take care of flushing the buffer from time to time, or like your last print, you need to, after you know that your print needs to be, let's say, committed, you need to make sure you flush the buffer. So this is another important dimension. Another one, do you want locking? Are you going to have multiple threads going to write at the same time on the same stream? That can be a problem. So let me show you. This is a slightly more complicated example. So let me show you the printing function. But here I'll show you in the next slide why. But this function wants a lock and an ID. The ID is going to be used to basically represent a thread ID. And the lock is what we are talking about, right? Locking and doing mutually exclusive access to a resource, which in this case, it's the standard out stream. The reason why I'm not just passing these two arguments normally, but I'm basically bundling them inside the struct, it's because we're going to see in the next slide. That's how the interface for launching a function in a new thread works. So what do we do in the body? We grab the lock, we defer its release. So this statement here, defer, makes this happen at the end when we are returning from the scope. And we grab the ID, and then we just do basically 3 prints, standard out, no buffering, just grabbing out standard out and writing to it 3 times, the same message. Now, if you do this, and let me show you also the other half of the code. So now this is our main function. Our main function is, well, creating the lock, making space for 3 threads, and spawning them, and then waiting for them, synchronizing to them. And here's also the args track that we defined before, which gets passed to do hello. You try it, and that's the output. 3 threads. For some reason, when I did this run, the first thread ran immediately. The second thread, somehow, I don't know, the OS didn't like it, so they said, well, you know what, I prefer to launch the third thread first, and then we'll schedule, well, I prefer to schedule the second one, the third one, and then we'll do the second one last. Now, what's the problem here, though? Well, this is nice, but what happens if we comment the lock lines? How does not locking interact with multi-threading and trying to print on the same stream? It produces something like this. So think, this is, I didn't make this up. This is actually the result of a run that I did. So you look at this. Is this understandable? Do you understand what's going on? I don't know. Maybe some people are fine. Like you look at this, I don't know. This is perfectly understandable. Everything is garbled up. But yeah, so this is a big problem. Like this is not something that you can use to understand anything. And also, what's interesting about this is that this is not just messing up where the new line is. This is messing up everywhere. Like everything is messed up. The T colon was never broken, but man, what a mess. So we just saw a bunch of different things that you should think about when you're trying to print. And if you have at print, maybe you don't think about them as much as you should. So this is why print is inside debug, because it's one choice, like it's one set of choices made for you by this function, which is reasonably good for debug purposes. But when you are writing a production application where, depending on how important printing is, you need to be able to make those decisions independently, one by one, and make the right one for your case. So now I'm going to show you what's inside print. But for the people that don't know, I think it might be interesting, if you want to write in chat, what do you think is debug.print giving you? Is it giving you buffering or not? Is it giving you locking or not? Is it gonna give you error handling or not? Is it gonna print to standard out or to standard error? So if you don't know, maybe try to write your prediction in chat. I would like to read a couple before showing the code. Okay, so John says buffering, locking, and standard out. That's a reasonable choice. That would be a reasonable choice. Proti says straight write to standard error with catch return on error. Standard out, no buffering, no error catching from a root dev. Nice. I mean, and every set of choices that each of you is saying, they're all reasonable, right? They would be okay. So it's interesting that a print function that is there for your convenience is making one choice for you, and I think we have all seen way too many programs where none of this is being like customized by the programmer. So let me show you what it actually does. Oh, that's it. So let's go line from line to line. It does have locking. So if you use debug.print in a multi-threaded context, you will get reasonable output. But if you are issuing multiple prints, then those, like if you print this and then print that, those two prints, you don't know if they will happen together. So this is basically avoiding the worst case, like what I showed you before, these garbled together with the numbers. But this is not a complete solution, right? If you want to have a better understanding of what's happening in a multi-threaded context, then it's grabbing the standard error writer, so it prints to standard error, and if there's an error, it just returns. So in fact, print, you don't have to try print, to try debug print. You can just launch it. So I think that's interesting, and I think it's good to know what your possibilities are and why Zig does. Another reason, which actually might be probably even a bigger reason why print is not a built-in, is because languages like C, apparently, to implement format strings, right? So you want to print and substitute certain tokens with arguments that get passed in by the user. Apparently, in C and other languages, you need to implement this stuff in the compiler. It cannot be a user space function. But actually, format strings in Zig, like this whole FMT machinery that is able to, let me go back to where an example is, like the whole machinery that allows you to say, substitute this with the argument that you're giving me. These are actually all implemented in user space. It's in the standard library, and you can implement your own formatting stuff. With C, not so much. So, long story short, hello world is not that simple, but it's not that hard either. You just have to know what your options are and make your right decision. And now I think this will give you I don't know, after this, after thinking through all of this, I started being a bit more sophisticated about my hello worlds. Now, I don't know, not every hello world is fine anymore. I look at the hello world application, one-liner, nice, but I start thinking, is it buffering? Is it locking? I don't know. So, long story short, extreme Z programmers actually think of the details. That's pretty much the whole point. Although I have to admit, it's unfortunate that extreme has been, it's a term that has been overloaded so much with agile stuff. So this was, I guess, the main part of the talk. Let me show you one last thing and also one quick demo for people that have gone past the using debug.print, so that are used doing that. Let's talk about std.log very, very briefly. Freund, I think, contributed the whole implementation, so I think people should ask him to do a full talk on why he made the choices that he made, why things work that way, etc., etc. But know that there is a logging system in the standard library that's useful to use. Once you move away from debug.print, so once you stop having prints that are there for really debug reasons, as the name implies, take a look at this. It's a standardized interface for logging. So once you start printing useful stuff that you want to be printed, or like when your application runs in production, let's say, for real. It supports scoping and error levels. So error levels, you know those, right? Info, warn, error, critical. There is a good list of error levels that you can use in std.log. Also scoping, it's interesting because it allows you to basically create a scoped logger for your library. So if you're writing a library, you can just at the beginning, at the top level, declare your scoped logger, and then you can give it just an enum. It's very nice. You just specify an enum that is basically the name of your library, and then after that, every log line that you print from using that logger will be prepended with the scope, so with your library name, which is super nice because it allows you very quickly to make it clear that a log line is coming from a specific library instead of other places, and making everything more confused than it should be. Final thing, oh yeah, you can also provide a custom implementation in your root file. So there is a default implementation in the standard library, which I won't show the source code, but if you look at it, it looks very similar to debug.print. I don't remember 100% actually, now that I think about it. But I mean, now you've seen all the important things. So I'm sure that if you go take a look in the code, it's gonna take half a second for you to immediately recognize what set of options it's providing you. And you can go read in, as I said, you can go read in the default implementation, but more importantly, go read what's inside this file, because there's a bunch of comments that tell you also how to use it and tell you all the enum options and etc. etc. So there's a bunch of like useful documentation in there. Don't be afraid to read the standard library of Zig. Like I know that if you come from other languages, like I don't know, I'm thinking about my own experience with Java, for example, you don't really want to go read too much into other people's code. I didn't want to read my own Java code, to be honest. But with Zig, this is not unique to Zig, but with Zig, I assure you, especially the standard library, you can learn a lot. Everything is very easy to understand, very clear, well documented. And especially this part here, which is, it has a very, very big and complete explanation on how to use it and how to customize it. So I said earlier that you can provide your custom implementation. So let me show you a demo of that. Let me show you one thing that you can do. So let me see if I can handle properly with OBS. Okay, so now I am showing you my development computer. There's Twitch chat. Say hello to YouTube since we are recording. And it's not just Twitch chat. So please somebody write something so we make sure that it works. And also down here, I have the Showtime Discord server. Oh yeah, there we go. There's people. Oh, and there's also King writing true in the Discord server. So this is working. Let me show you. I prepared this project called, like the talk, Advanced Hello World. And in there, I have my main file, which is doing a few interesting things. So we have these Discord logger and Twitch logger implementations that are in two subfolders. I'm not going to show you the implementation just yet, but I mean, I think the name is already self-explanatory. We set the log level to warn. We have a couple, I have Discord and Twitch. I save them as global variables. I have a setting for Discord and a setting for Twitch. So my channel name and the ID of a channel inside the Showtime Discord, which by the way, I'm going to change because previously I was testing this stuff in a channel dedicated to bots, but now I'm going to copy the ID of the main channel, place it here. And after that, we got into the main function. So the main function has an allocator, which is necessary for the libraries to work. Here we initialize Discord. Here we initialize Twitch. And here we do a standard log warn. And here, down here, there's our implementation of log in our root file. So this stuff is copied verbatim from the original implementation. This is just building a prefix with the level and the scope prefix. And then in here, we are grabbing a log, printing to standard error. And then we are also using Discord and Twitch to send a message. So we are logging also to Twitch and Discord. So let's see, the message is shields at 80%. Let's put it to 60% so that I don't remember if I compiled this or not last time. So let's make this compile. Let me also open everything so that we can see the result. Zig build run. Boom. We have a log line in Discord. We have the log line on Twitch and on the computer. Now, is this a good idea? No, not really. but we can make it even worse. So let's make this even worse. How do you make it even worse? Well, we implemented log, right? But what if we implement also a panic handler in our root file? So this is a panic implementation that does the same thing. Funny thing, this should return no return, and the only way for me to do that and work correctly is to add breakpoint and unreachable. Maybe somebody else knows a better way of doing this. But here's the problem. We need unreachable because unreachable is, as far as I know, the only thing that makes a function return no return. The second problem is that if we just put unreachable here and we do a debug build, so if we do a release fast build, this unreachable will do nothing. And so I have no idea what will, like, we should not hit it, right? Hit it. So we are not supposed to hit it. So without breakpoint. So what I'm saying is, without breakpoint, I need unreachable for the no return value. But in release safe mode, unreachable is nothing, and which means that, I don't know, this function will not produce a ret instruction at the end. I have no idea. Maybe we're gonna start like skateboarding into random code. I don't know. But in release safe and debug mode, it will do something, but the problem is that it will call the panic function, and we are in a panic function. So if I just leave it like this is gonna continue call itself in a loop. So I need to generate an instruction that basically makes the application crash, and that's what breakpoint does. I don't know if there's another way of doing the same thing, but anyway, so we have our panic implementation here, and now instead of warning, we want to panic. So now we panic. Hello from Twitch. Oh, yeah, from Twitch. So now we panic. Let's see. Let me open. Let me put everything up in the foreground as usual. Build run. And boom, we have it. Hello from Twitch. We have it in Twitch. We have it. Import message from a panicking Zig application, and the application crashes. Now, let me show you a final thing. So I said that you need breakpoint, right? Let me show you what happens if I remove breakpoint. Oh no. So not a good idea. Anyway, that was terrible. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I just want to say that, well, let me see 1 second that I need to switch OBS back to the presentation. Okay, so you can find it on GitHub. It's on my my account at /advancedhelloworld. Thanks to Benjamin and Zakus for helping me. In particular, the Discord code is straight up stolen from the ZigBot 9001 created by Benjamin, and the code for Twitch was also 100% provided by Zakus. So thank you very much. I have to say, to me, this looks like a very reasonable enterprise grade Hello World. I don't know about you, but like, you want to log, there is also redundancy, 2 different services. It's cloud. You can also you can force employees to have notifications enabled, and so yeah, that seems actually pretty amazing to me. I think the only argument that I'm willing, the only criticism that I'm willing to accept is that we are not sending messages on Slack and Teams, and we are not opening Jira issues. But we can actually give it enough time, and we can actually implement that. I mean, I can offer that as a paid feature, by the way, if anybody is interested in the audience. So I guess that was it for me. If there's any question, let me know. FizzBuzz next. We could do FizzBuzz with panics. Like you keep anyway. Bad ideas. These are all bad ideas. Oh man. So there's also there's standard process exit. I see. I like my debug unreachable though. But yeah, that makes sense. So Twitter and Facebook already, please. Yeah, maybe. I really think we need Teams. Like this sounds like a perfect fit for a Microsoft shop. Like a Microsoft partner shop. Anyway, let's see. Any comment? Let me scroll past my message spam on chat. This is a game changer for the industry. I agree. Especially the panics. Like you really want. Also, by the way, maybe let me show you some other bad ideas that were in that code. So I think there is no discussion that this is a bad idea. Although, actually, let me be a bit more serious about stuff. For some applications, trying to log to an external system makes sense, and you can actually see people doing that when building network services. You 100% do not want to attempt this in a panic. Without a doubt, you don't want to attempt a connection. By the way, also another reason why these these implementation are awful. Let me show you the Twitch one since it's simpler. This is send simple message is the one that was that was being used in the panic because the FMT plus args interface relies on comp time stuff that breaks when called from a panic. I don't know. It doesn't compile. I think you hit a to do in the compiler. So this is just a simplified interface where the message doesn't support formatting. Like this opens a connection every time you open it and then closes it. So every time, like you try to print 3 messages and it will open and close 3 connections. It allocates every time. So not a good idea to do this stuff in a panic, probably. But attaching in a more robust way an external system to your logging, that's actually something that really can make sense in certain contexts. But not the way I did it. And a couple of other problems is here we are just formatting the message in this format here. There is no escaping the JSON, like Discord uses a JSON format. We are not really escaping the JSON text either. So if you put like quotes, you need to triple, you need to add 3 backslashes before them to, otherwise everything will break. Same with new lines and other weird stuff. So yep. But anyway, oh yeah, right. And there's some people that also used to log to Notepad. Man, that is something also just as funky that can be integrated with the logger system. I mean, it's nice. Okay, so let me see if there was any other question in the meantime. I forget, can you repeat numbered form args? Yes, that's, I think, the main point of using number format args, so that you can repeat the same one multiple times. Let's switch back to the presentation. So I think there are no other questions. Oh yeah, but there's a comment that I would like to read because that makes total sense. An enterprise hello world sends an @ here in general on Slack. I agree 100%. Like you need to integrate it. You know what? You can use scopes. Instead of using the scope to identify your library, you use the scope to identify the group of people that you need to ping, and you can change the default scope, like the main application scope, to be @ here for everybody. That's amazing.